All right, we'll go ahead and start in a seated position tonight. Our class theme of the day is surrender and let go. So we've got more of a slow-paced yin-styled class this evening. Yin yoga is the cooler, slower, calmer kind of energy compared to yang, the faster, warmer, higher intensity kind of energy. So our vinyasa or our power flow classes are more of that yang energy, and then the yin is the cooler, slower paced energy. We're going to move through some deep stretches tonight. This is a great class for post work day or at the end of the day before you go to bed, or just as a complement to a more faster paced, warmer practice such as vinyasa or power flow. So we'll start here in our seated position. Any seated position will do. If you'd like to come into the crisscross Sukhasana, easy seat, you'll just kind of cross your legs with one foot in front of the other, and got loud traffic today. If you sit in the typical crisscross way, what people often do is they have one foot resting underneath the opposite shin, which is not a problem other than it can create a little bit of pressure on that bottom foot that gets uncomfortable. If it's comfortable for you, no problem, no need to change anything, but I like to kind of suggest to people, widen the knees, scoot the closer foot in toward your body, and let the further away foot rest further away, kind of exaggerate that separation of the feet. And your knees don't need to get to the floor. That's okay if the knees are way up high. And if this feels awkward at first, that's normal. Don't worry about it. Practice this, and over time, you'll probably find some more comfort in this position, and it'll feel a little easier and more natural to come into this position. But like I said, if you feel better with one foot tucked under, or even sitting with your legs extended out, that's totally fine too. Whatever's going to make you feel at ease. So we'll just make ourselves comfortable, close down the eyes, sit up nice and tall. Let your hands rest somewhere that they don't feel the need to fidget around. Maybe rest them on the lap or interlace your fingers. Let go of any stress that you might be carrying in your face. Sitting in such a way that your heart is open and your belly is soft. Creating lots of spaciousness within your body for breath and for energy to flow freely. Your body is alert but relaxed. If you do a quick little body scan here, starting up at the crown of your head and working downward through your body, checking in with each body part until you get to your toes. If you go through a scan like this and notice that any part of your body is clenching or gripping or kind of holding on, I want you to take a big breath in, guide that inhale straight to that place within your body. And then on the exhale, invite some softness, some relaxation into that part of your body. And you can do that with as many body parts as you need to until you get all the way down to your toes. Take a few moments here, moving through the body with your awareness, breathing in some relaxation. And as you go, as you work downward through the body, if there are any parts of the body that are really tight, really tense, or really stressed, you might take just a single breath and invite as much softness as you can, even if it's just a tiny little bit, And then move on, keep going. If it stays a little bit tight, a little bit tense, that's okay. You don't need to make it all go away at once. You're just beginning the process of inviting in relaxation, softening into the body. And eventually, making your way all the way down to the tips of your toes. And then bringing your awareness back up into your heart space, right in the center of your chest. You can even place a palm or two on your chest if you'd like. Sometimes that just helps to bring a little bit more awareness into the heart. And tapping in here right at first to your physical heart space. The space right under your palms, right under the sternum, between the shoulder blades, in the middle of your chest. Feeling the chest rise and fall with the breath. Maybe feeling the heartbeat. And then as you linger here in the physical heart space, you may or may not start to notice some other sensations in your physical body sort of ping into your awareness, like little light bulbs in other places within your body. The heart is this really wonderful kind of magical little gateway between the physical and the emotional bodies. This energetic portal between the physical and the emotional. So when you start to tap into your physical heart space, sometimes what might happen is all of a sudden a sensation arises in your belly that feels like a stirring or kind of an uneasiness. Or maybe you start to feel a little bit of restriction around your throat, or perhaps a tightness in your forehead, or a sweatiness in your palms. There's lots of things that could possibly come into your awareness here. Because physically, of course, the heart resides right here in the center of your chest, but energetically, the heart is so vast, it extends throughout the entire body. Which is why you might feel things start to pop up in other areas of your body. And I want you just to take note of what you feel, make any observations. Feel everything that comes up without trying to change it or fix it. And then maybe starting to also notice if there are any emotions that arise for you. So maybe that uneasiness that you feel, that stirring that you feel in the belly, is a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of worry. Maybe the tightness around your throat is a little bit of sadness. Maybe the constriction of the forehead, the tightness across the eyebrows is some stress that your body's holding on to. Some frustration or anger. Maybe there's even a part of your body where you can feel joy, where you can feel love. Starting to become aware of how the emotions reside in the physical body. In our Western culture, we often think of the physical body and the thoughts and the emotions as entirely separate entities, but we're finally starting to come around to see that all parts of us are so interconnected. Our emotions really live in the body and what we think, our thoughts that go through our mind, start to create a shape within the physical body. If you carry negative thoughts in your mind all the time, you're likely going to take on this shape where your heart's a little bit collapsed, your spine is a little bit rounded, your shoulders and head tend to drop forward, and it's usually kind of subtle, but you can see it in people if you look around. Maybe noticing within your own body, how are you sitting here now? Is your heart light and open? Is your belly soft? Or do you have a little bit of collapse going on? And again, just making observations, not judgments. There's no need to change or fix anything. And if you feel anything that gets a little bit uncomfortable, here's where the real work comes in. When you notice sensations, thoughts, emotions that feel a little bit uncomfortable in your body or in your heart, what I'll ask you to do, or what I'll invite and encourage you to do, is to slow down a little bit and just to be with whatever that feeling or sensation or thought is, rather than trying to change or fix it or make it go away. We all have a tendency to feel hard things come up, feel uncomfortable things come up, and then try to rush our way out of them so that we can move on to a more pleasant experience. So if you feel something uncomfortable, I want you to remember that in this life, everything is temporary, right? Everything is impermanent. It's the nature of this life we live. And so because everything is temporary, you know that every thought, every feeling, every sensation is temporary too. It won't last forever. So while it's here, I want you to see if you can feel it fully. Bring it fully into your body with all 5 of your senses. Soak it all up, really marinate in it for a moment. Let it stay as long as it needs to stay, whatever it is. And in this allowing, there's a beautiful surrender that happens. There's a letting go of control. You're allowing whatever needs to move through you to do that just the way that it needs to. So let's really come into this idea, this intention for today: surrender and let go. Surrender and let go. Let's take a big deep breath together, in through the nose. And then out through the mouth. When you're ready, gently start to blink your eyes open. Let your hands come down. And make sure that you've got some space in front of you. I'm going to actually turn to the side here because I don't quite have space behind me. You can stay where you are or wherever you need to be. If you're not in Sukhasana, the crisscross seated position, you can either try it now or you can stay in whatever seated position you're in. You'll just get a different stretch here as we forward fold. So you're going to walk your hands out in front of you. Let your head and your heart drop down toward your mat, toward the earth. And it doesn't matter how deeply you fold forward or how far you stretch. You can fold just a little bit if that's what your body wants. You can fold a little more or a lot. And again, if you're sitting on your knees, looks a little different. If you're sitting with your legs extended out in front of you, looks and feels a little different. You'll probably get a little hamstring stretch. And we'll all do this hamstring stretch in a while. So if you're not here and you know you need a hamstring stretch, don't worry about it. Stay where you are, however you're seated. And we're just going to take a few breaths here, whatever that looks like in your body. And what I'm going to ask you to do for today's practice is start to find the slowest and quietest possible breath in and out through your nose. slow and quiet breath in and out through your nose. This slow, quiet breath will help to relax your nervous system. It'll help to warm your body, keep you nice and comfortable. It'll help to soften the muscles so that you can surrender and let go into each stretch. Notice if you're clenching and gripping and tightening in the muscles, really holding on. It's hard to really stretch the body because the body is trying to protect itself. So if you call in this slow, quiet breath in and out through the nose, that should help the muscles to soften to where you can stretch them a little bit more easily. Let's take another breath here on this side. And then when you're ready, start to walk your hands back up to a seated position. If you have your legs crossed, you're going to switch the cross of your legs so that the opposite foot goes in front. If you are sitting with your legs out long, you might try feet together or sitting on your knees. I just want you to find a different seated position. But again, if you had your legs crossed, I want you to just switch the cross of your legs so you get the opposite stretch. You're going to walk your hands out in front, fold forward again, any amount that feels good in your body, wherever you're feeling the stretch. Keeping a nice long spine, keeping your face relaxed, jaw relaxed. And if you are in the Sukhasana, cross-legged position, maybe noticing if one side felt tighter than the other. Noticing, beginning to make observations about where your body carries its stress and its tension. Maybe making little observations about any imbalances in your body. Imbalances are not a bad thing. They just are. It's little tools and little ways for you to become a little bit more aware of your own habits and patterns and tendencies. So let's come back to a slow, quiet breath in and out through the nose here. And see if we can really start to relax into this stretch. And with each exhale, feeling your body start to relax and soften just a little bit more. Especially in the place within your body where you feel the stretch happening. If at any time it's a little bit too much and the body starts to kind of grip and scream at you in a way that's that you can't really relax with the breath, then I would suggest backing off just a little bit, coming out of the stretch just a little bit, not fully, not coming out all the way, but just backing off a tad, just a little bit. And then breathing there. Let's take our last 2 to 3 breaths on this side. Good, and then you'll walk your hands back up toward you, so coming to an upright position. Stretch your legs out in front of you, give the knees a little shake, maybe windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Just kind of resetting after that nice first stretch. And then we're gonna bring the feet around, coming to a seat, or kind of coming through a tabletop to a seat on the heels with your toes tucked under. So starting in this kind of tabletop version with the hands underneath the shoulders on the mat, your toes should be tucked under and you should start to feel a stretch down the bottoms of your feet. This is great for people who wear shoes a lot of the day. You can, if this is too intense even here, you can come down onto your elbows. That'll take a little bit of pressure out of the stretch. And if you want a deeper version of this stretch, you can bring your hands up onto your thighs or even all the way up onto your hips. You could also do one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly if you'd like. So you should feel a really nice big stretch down the bottoms of the feet. This is a good toe stretch. It's a good stretch for the arches of the feet. And at any time, if it feels like too much, because this is a pretty intense one, like I said, come down to the hands or even the elbows. We're gonna stay here for a little bit of time, not quite as long as the last stretches that we just did, but still we'll probably be here about 10 more breaths. So I really want you to find a comfortable enough position where you can stay for 10 quiet, slow breaths in and out through your nose. And this is one that really starts to get uncomfortable, so it's a great place to start practicing the skill of surrender. The skill of surrendering. Surrendering to discomfort, surrendering to things that are hard. You've done hard things before and made it through. This is the yin practice. We slow down, we take ourselves into some stretches and postures that are a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit challenging, and we surrender and we stay. We surrender and we stay, surrendering into the discomfort that you feel, knowing that it's temporary. It won't kill you. We'll come out of this and your feet will feel better just in a few breaths. Let's take 2 more. You know, they might be burning. Stay with it. Keep your face relaxed. And when you feel ready, really slowly, without a big rush, I want you to come onto your hands, crawl yourself into a tabletop, and then just simply untuck your toes and lay the tops of your feet on the mat. Okay, and just stay still here for a moment, really feeling into the feet, feeling all of that relief flooding into the toes and the arches of the feet. And then you can start to kind of curl your toes a little bit. And then I'm gonna have you tap the feet back behind you. Tap, 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 tap the toenails on the mat. Tap, 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 a little bit of release. And then you'll come into a kneeling position. I'm gonna turn around so that you can see a little bit better. You're gonna separate your heels just enough that you can sit right between your heels. And then with lots of control, no hands, I want you to lift up over the left heel to sit on the outside of the left heel. And then adjust your feet if you need to. The right foot can kick out to the right a little further. Your right hand now is going to stay down either on the right ankle, shin, or foot, or on the floor. You could do elbow to foot. We're going to do a side stretch here. So when you're ready, take your left arm, reach it up toward the sky, and then lean to the right as you reach overhead. So what's happening here is we've got the hips, the pelvis in this position where it is tilted to the side, left hip down, lower than the right hip. So when we do this side stretch, you should get a deeper side stretch than if we were just sitting normally. So really lifting up and out of the left hip, leaning to the right as much as it feels good, but trying to keep some height going through the spine. So if you notice, you can try and just kind of lean to the right, lean round to the right elbow, and you may feel some side stretch, but I guarantee you'll feel more if you sit back up, lift up out of the pelvis, and then lift as if you're reaching up over some bar or object here. Almost like you're reaching the left side of your rib cage up toward the ceiling, puffing it up and out to the left. And then notice how much more stretch you feel down here on the left side of your waist. All right, so taking a couple more breaths here. And let's take about 2 more. And then when you're ready, very slowly bring the left hand down, sit back upright, and we'll switch sides. So sitting up and over with control to the outside of the right foot. Feet maybe walk over to the left a little further if you need some space there. And then again, notice how the right hip is tilted down, left one slightly up. Right hand is going to start to reach way up high and then overhead. And again, notice the difference in sensation when you lean into the left arm or elbow and just kind of let your whole body lean to the left versus when you try to sit up really tall, reach up really high, and as you reach up and over, take the right side of your rib cage and puff it up and out to the right side. Neither one is better or worse. You're not doing it right or wrong. If you come down onto your elbow or really lean to the left, especially if that feels good in your body. If it feels better to lean further into the left, great, awesome, stay there. But in my own experience, I tend to find that if I puff the right side of my rib cage up and out to the right, I feel more stretch on the right side of my waist. So exploring this in your own body just for a couple more breaths. You can let your head go, even shake it no, shake it yes. Relax your face and your jaw. And then when you're ready, gently let the right hand come down. Come back onto the heels. If you're turned sideways on your mat like I was, turn back a long way on your mat. We're gonna come into a puppy stretch here. So you're gonna come through a tabletop and then maybe scoot your knees back a little bit. Walk your hands forward, drop your head and your chest down toward your mat. Ideally, you wanna get to a place where the forehead can rest on the mat. If it doesn't, that's okay, it's not a problem. It's usually just a little bit more supported if your forehead can rest. Your neck doesn't have to work so hard. And then two options here. Number one, you come up onto the fingertips, kind of tenting the palms up off the ground. Crawl the fingertips as far forward as they can go. Getting a stretch now all the way down through the shoulders into the chest. Option number two, you set your elbows down, bend your elbows and bring your hands toward the back of your neck. This will give you more tricep stretch. Taking a couple of breaths in whichever version of puppy pose you liked better, keeping your face and jaw relaxed, continuing to breathe as slowly and as quietly as you can. With each exhale, feel your body soften just a little bit more. Surrendering into whatever you're feeling in your body right here, right now. Last 2 to 3 breaths in your puppy pose. And then as you're ready, extend your hands out in front of you. Slowly push up onto your palms, coming into a tabletop pose with your joints stacked. Shoulders right on top of the wrists. We'll do some wrist stretches here. Turn all 10 fingers back around toward your knees, keeping your palms on your mat. Fingers point back toward the knees. If it's too intense for the wrists, scoot your hands closer to your knees. If you want a deeper stretch for the wrists, scoot your hands further away from the knees. Deciding where you need to be, and then you can either stay still or shift gently from side to side. forward and backward, or make circles on top of your wrists. See if you can move and breathe a little bit more slowly than you already are. Really feeling the stretch, all of the sensation fully in your body, rather than trying to rush through it, staying present with what you feel. As you're ready, turning your hands back around to the front, and let's do the opposite stretch now. Let's flip the backs of the hands to the mat with all 10 of your fingers pointing toward each other in the center. So as you look down, you should see your palms facing up at you with the fingers in the center. And then a couple of times, you're gonna curl your fingers in as if you're trying to make fists, squeeze in tight, and then slowly let the fingers open back up. Do that again, curl the fingers in, squeeze as tightly as you can, and then open the fingers back up. And keep going like that a couple more times. Your elbows do not have to be straight. They can bend a little if needed. The straighter your arms, the deeper stretch you'll feel on the top of your wrists and up the forearm. Next time that you curl your fingers in, I want you to hold it there. Keep the shoulders dropped down away from your ears, kind of sliding the shoulder blades down toward your hips, reaching out through the crown of your head so your neck is long. And let's hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Flip back to your palms nice and slow. All right, and just kind of shift from left hand to right hand as the hands reset, wrists even back out. You could pick up a hand and roll a wrist and then switch a couple of times. All right, so we're gonna come into deer pose next. You're gonna sit back onto your heels again. I'll show you from the back, right between your heels, again, wide in the heels. And then you're gonna do the same thing we did for the side stretch. You're gonna lift up over to sit on the outside of the left heel. And now this time you're gonna exaggerate, taking your feet over to the right. Now scoot your right knee back so that the right knee goes right into the arch of the left foot. And I don't know how well you can see here, but kind of from an angle, I've got the sole of my left foot cupping the right knee. My left knee points to the left, and my right knee also points to the left, but it kind of points right into the sole of the left foot. And I'm going to turn myself on my mat so that both feet are on the mat, just because it's more comfortable. If you need a blanket or anything to cushion the feet, if you're on a hard floor like I am, go ahead and do those things. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna just start to fold yourself directly over your left knee. Okay, so this is kind of like pigeon stretch, but a little bit gentler, more accessible version for most people. That being said, you can still get a really nice deep left hip stretch here. It's not easier, it's not less intense. It's just gentler and easier to access from a variety of ranges. So this is one that I like to do in my all levels classes, especially if I'm not sure if the full pigeon pose is gonna work for everybody. If you love pigeon pose, feel free to just kick this right leg straight back behind you, and voila, you're in pigeon pose. I'm gonna stay in deer pose with the right knee on the sole of the left foot. And I'm gonna even take my elbows out wide, stack my palms, and rest my forehead onto the backs of my hands. If that's a little too intense, stay up on your elbows or on your hands. Any position that feels good to you. We're gonna be here for about 10 more breaths. This is kind of a longer stretch. Really getting into that slow, quiet breath. Maybe as you spend your 10 breaths here, scanning through the body and relaxing a different part of your body with each cycle of breath.
So with each passing exhale, find a new part of the body to relax. Maybe starting at the head and working downward, or starting at the toes and working upward. Breathing in and out through your nose. And really feeling the mind start to relax and slow down and become a little quieter as your physical body does the same. Oftentimes we come to a meditation or yoga practice and we think that we need to clear the mind as if that's the practice, but in fact, clearing the mind is kind of the result when you slow down the rest, when you slow down the body, relax the body, the mind follows suit. Let's go ahead and switch sides and keep talking about that a little bit. Let's sit upright. You're just gonna windshield wiper the knees up over to the other side. So now, if you need to adjust, keep adjusting, but the sole of your right foot should cup the left knee now. So both knees should point to your right side. And then we'll fold directly over the right knee this time. It's coming either onto your palms, onto your elbows, or even taking your elbows wide, stacking your palms to rest your forehead. Again, if you love pigeon stretch, the more traditional pigeon, you can kick the left leg straight back behind you. And you kind of roll a little bit toward the right foot, so your hips are square. That's another great way to do this one. But again, I'm going to stay in deer stretch. You find what's right for you. So let's come back to talking about clearing the mind here as we get settled in and slow down the breath. This is something I hear all the time from new students coming to yoga class. There's this misconception that in yoga and in meditation, we have to clear the mind. And I want you to remember that the mind thinks just like the heart beats. The mind thinks just like the heart beats. It happens involuntarily. So if you try to stop the mind from thinking, it's like you're trying to stop it from doing its job. We don't want to stop the mind from thinking. But when we do these practices, yoga and meditation, we relax the body, we calm the nervous system, we find some ease and some softness. A clearer, calmer mind tends to be the end result. So allowing it to be the end result rather than using it to try to just get into the practice. It's kind of like people think it's the way to meditate is to clear the mind, but instead it's kind of backwards. We meditate to clear the mind. So just allowing that clear, calm mind to come as a result, letting go of attachment to the outcome, to the end result, surrendering to the process and surrendering to whatever comes, even if today it's not a perfectly clear, calm mind. That's why we call this a practice. It takes time. Let's stay on this side of our deer pose or pigeon stretch for about 2 to 3 more breaths. And then when you're ready, slowly start to press back up onto your palms
And let's go ahead and stretch the legs out long. Give the knees a little shake, a little bit of relief in the legs and the hips. And then we're gonna try one that is often a love-hate pose for people. I know this one is not always a favorite. This one is called a frog pose. So bear with me, give it a try. See if it works in your body today. And I've got another kind of backup option for you if it doesn't feel so good. What I'll have you do is take your mat the long way and fold it over once or twice so that you've got a bit more cushion for your knees. I'm gonna kind of scoop mine around so you can still see me here. Okay. So there's some more cushion for your knees. Your knees are gonna go on the mat and you'll come into a tabletop position. Tabletop with your knees on the folded over mat. All right, now what you're gonna do is take the feet out wide, just a couple of inches wide, and then push into the toes, lift the knees, take the knees out wide, and then do that again. Toes, knees, until you get to a place where the hips say, that's enough. And I promise you'll reach that place where the hips will tell you that's far enough. Then from there, you can come down slowly onto your elbows. And we'll start, if you're okay here, we'll start just to kind of slide 1 inch forward, 1 inch backward. Knees and elbows stay planted, but your torso slides 1 inch forward, 1 inch backward, really slowly, kind of soothing the body. Like it's like you're rocking the body into a little bit more relaxed state. Relax the jaw, relax the shoulders, relax the legs, relax your feet. Relax your arches and your toes. Relax your hands. And then after a couple of moments like this, all of a sudden, maybe it feels just a little bit more okay to be here in this big, intense, deep stretch. So if it doesn't, I want you to come out the same way you came in. Feet, knees, feet, knees, feet, knees together. Come into a seat or a child's pose for a moment till I circle back to option B here. But if you feel all right in your frog pose, I'm going to invite you to take your elbows out wide and lay your chest down on the ground, turning your head to either side. So you've got your knees, ankles, and hips all at about 90 degrees. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then you're on your chest with your head turned to one side. Now, if that's too intense to lay on your chest, come back up to your elbows. I just personally don't love to be on my elbows because I feel like I'm doing a forearm plank and it's a lot of work for my upper body to stay here. And I can relax more if I just drop down onto my chest, head turned to the side. Okay, so do your best to find a comfortable position. You could also take a blanket or some pillows and lay them underneath your torso here. That would be a great option. I'm going to show option B here. So I'm going to press back up onto my palms. I'm going to heel toe, or I guess toe knee, my feet and knees together. And I'm going to show you this upright seated version of frog pose. If you don't need this version, stay where you're comfortable. So option B, I can scoot my mat back into place. I'm going to unroll or unfold my mat. I'm going to do the same stretch, essentially seated. So I'm going to take my feet out wide with my toes pointing out, knees bent at 90 degrees. You can sit with your back up against a wall, or you can hold on to the shins or the ankles or the feet and pull yourself gently into a little forward fold. You may or may not end up in a position where your elbows are on some position on the inner legs, on the calves or the knees or the thighs, and that resting of the elbows on the inner legs, inside edge of the legs, gives you the opportunity to gently push the knees down. You don't need to, but sometimes it feels good to just give a little gentle push down toward the ground. So here you should still feel that big inner thigh stretch, big inner hip stretch, without the pressure on the knees like you got when you were in the traditional frog pose. So whichever version you have found here, I'm gonna invite you to stay for, let's say, at least 5 more breaths, up to 10. I'm gonna stay for 10. If you decide you wanna stay just for 5 more breaths, that's okay. You can just simply come up to a comfortable seat after your 5 slow breaths. Let the body relax and reset, and we'll join together for the next pose. Keep your breath flowing slowly and quietly in and out through your nose. Keep your face and your jaw relaxed and at ease. Last breath if you're still in your frog pose. And then when you're ready, go ahead and sit back upright. If you are in the traditional frog, start to bring your feet together and then your knees, feet, knees until your knees touch. Sit upright, bring your feet around to the front. Legs together, give your knees a little shake, little windshield wiper side to side. Maybe give the thighs a little massage with the hands. You could do a little karate chopping as well here, that might feel good. All right, and then we're gonna do kind of the opposite of what we just did, opposite stretch. That was for the inner thighs, now we're gonna hit the outer hips. We're gonna try a double pigeon fire log pose. I've got options for you if this one doesn't feel good to you. I've always got options. So let's start with the fire log pose and you'll see how it goes. And then we'll go with the backup options second. So I am going to start with I'm gonna start with my left shin down. Left shin is parallel to the edge of the mat. Right heel is gonna stack on top of the left knee. Knee on top of heel, heel on top of knee. My shins are stacked. Now, even as I start, I've got space between my shins. If it's really tight, it might look something like this. That's all right. Now, if there's pain here, stay away, don't force anything. But if you feel okay here, just checking in with the shape. You should see a triangle when you look down at your legs with the shins stacked, one on top of the other, even if there's space between them. You could always take a blanket or a pillow, wedge it between the top knee and bottom foot or under the bottom knee, kind of make yourself more comfortable and supported here. Let's see, you should see shins stacked. If it's too intense, the bottom foot can scoot in closer to your seat. If that is still too intense, here's your backup option, figure 4 stretch. So right ankle is gonna stay on top of the left knee, but you're gonna take the left foot to the floor. And then you could either lean back against a wall, like I'm doing already, or you could just sit in the middle of your mat, leaning back on your hands. So this figure 4 stretch is a great alternative to the double pigeon. All right, so you should be feeling this in your hips. The good news, the bad news is the hips scream pretty loudly in this one. This one is pretty intense the first few times you do this stretch. Stay with the breath. The good news is these muscles are kind of little ones that we're stretching. They're kind of small, so they relax pretty quickly, and you'll see this stretch progress pretty quickly. Unlike some of the other stretches where it seems like we never make any progress, like forward fold. This one, you'll see progress quickly. If you feel okay, you can sit upright. If it's too much, lean back either on your hands or against a wall. If you'd like to take it further, you can even bring your fingertips to the ground in front of your shins, maybe walking the hands forward, maybe elbows to the top leg, or even elbows to the ground. You can just kind of fold as far as your body wants to fold, not forcing anything, not pushing to the point where you can't breathe. Finding a good amount of stretch that feels like it's letting go of some stuff in your body, but making sure not to get to the point where your body is feeling in danger and needs to protect itself. So that's when you can notice your body gripping and clenching and tightening out of fear of injury. You want to find a place where your body can still relax. That's where you know you found your sweet spot. And then just surrender there. I'm going to offer just a little bonus alternative here while you're in double pigeon. If you'd like some neck stretches, you can keep your legs in double pigeon but sit upright. And just start by rolling your head in a couple of circles each direction. Nice and slow and gentle. 3 to 5 circles one way, and then 3 to 5 in the other direction. And then whenever you're ready, you can drop your chin toward your chest and just kind of let the head bob there side to side a little bit. If you find a sweet spot, feel free to just pause and hold it there a moment or two. And then bring your head back to neutral. Roll the shoulders 2 or 3 times. And then we'll switch sides with the legs before we do some more with the neck. So let's gently unstack the legs, whether you're in fire log pose or figure 4. Stretch the legs out in front of you, give them a little shake, little windshield wiper. And then we'll take the right leg to the bottom this time, bending at the knee, stacking the left heel on top of the right knee. If you're going for figure 4, I should say if you're going for fire log pose, your shins are stacked one on top of the other. You should see a perfect triangle as you look down at your legs, even if there's space between the top knee and the bottom foot. Again, you can always pad it with some pillows and blankets if needed. To make it just a little gentler, you can scoot the bottom foot in toward your seat if you want, or to find a maybe gentler version for your knees, you can come into figure 4 stretch with the left ankle on top of the right knee, right foot to the floor. Again, either leaning back on your hands or against a wall. If you're in fire log pose, you're welcome to sit up tall, lean back on a wall or your hands, or fold forward. Any amount that feels good to you. Listening to your body, taking a couple of breaths, and then I'll offer a few more neck stretches. And then we'll make our way down onto our backs. All right, so if you'd like to join me for a couple of neck stretches, maybe sitting back upright, keeping your legs in your fire log shape. And let's just drop the left ear toward the left shoulder. You can take both fingertips and reach them down toward the floor if that feels better to you, or just keep your hands on your lap. And then you can add, if you'd like, a little nod yes, maybe a little shake no. And then maybe turn your chin down toward your left shoulder. And then if you'd like, you can add another nod yes or shake no. If there was a sweet spot somewhere, find it again, hold it there for another breath. And then we'll switch sides. Bring your head back to center. Roll the shoulders just once or twice. And then right ear drops toward the right shoulder. If you'd like, add a nod yes, maybe a shake no. Maybe turn your chin down toward your right shoulder. And if you'd like, again, nod yes, shake no. If there was a sweet spot somewhere, feel free to return to it. Take another breath. And then as you're ready, gently bring your head back up, roll the shoulders once or twice, and then take your hands, give your upper trapezius muscles just a little self-massage here with the fingers if that would feel good to you. Maybe all the way up the back of the neck toward the base of the skull, maybe down the sides of the neck to the collarbones. Maybe we give the jaw a little massage, or temples, or forehead. Self-massage, underrated, so good. Let's come out of double pigeon when you're ready, gently unstacking the legs, stretching them out long, maybe shaking them out. If you want, you can do a quick little forward fold here over both legs. Here's your option for a hamstring stretch. If you don't feel like you need a forward fold, you don't need a hamstring stretch, you can go directly onto your back. We'll all go there in a moment. I'm going to take about 3 to 5 breaths in my forward fold with a nice long spine, sending my chest, my heart forward toward my feet. You don't have to reach your toes here. And my last breath or two. And of course, if you need more time here today, if your hamstrings really need it, you're welcome to stay here 10 or 15 or 20 more breaths if you want to. This is the end of the practice. So we're just going to Shavasana from here. If your time or your day allows for it, stay here or take any final stretches that you need. And then we will meet in Shavasana, laying on your back. Legs extend out long, heels toward the opposite edges of the mat, palms face up. Eyes closed down. Feel free to keep moving, wiggling around until your body is as comfortable as it can be. And then settling into stillness. If you feel like you might be more comfortable with your knees bent, feet on the mat, knees together, that's a great option, especially if there's some tenderness in your lower back. Alternatively, you could lay on your side, on your belly, or sit with your back up against a wall. You could also do a little gentle inversion here. You could turn yourself toward a wall or turn your legs toward a wall. So your hips rest right against the wall, your legs kick up the wall. Coming into your legs up the wall pose. Really self-explanatory name for the pose, legs up the wall. This is a great option to get some fresh blood flow into the feet, into the legs, feel some of the tissues. So finding whatever position you'd like to take for Shavasana today, your final pose, settling in, and then coming fully into relaxation. Surrendering and letting go completely from head to toe, inside and out, body, mind, and heart. Allowing your experience to be just the way that it is in this moment, right here, right now. Trusting that everything that's moving through you, everything you're feeling and experiencing is exactly what you need in this moment
for your own growth and evolution and highest good. Remembering that everything is fleeting, everything is temporary. So while you're here in this moment, soak it up as fully as you can. Letting go of control and allowing what is. You can stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like, soaking up all of the rest and relaxation that you've created. Thank you so much for sharing your yoga practice and your day with me. The light and the love within me honors the light and the love within you. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.